1939, Soviet aviation stands on the verge of change. At Nikolai Polikarpov's design bureau, based at Plant No. 1, work is in full swing. The team is engaged in several projects at once, upgrading the I-16 and I-153 fighters, developing the VIT-2 ground attack aircraft, the SPB high-speed dive bomber, and the experimental I-190. Each of these aircraft is an attempt to meet the challenges of the time, as global aviation advances rapidly and Europe already feels the breath of war. Polikarpov, known as the king of fighters, understands that the current designs will soon be outdated. The I-16, once the pride of Soviet aviation, is falling behind new foreign models, particularly Germany's Bf-109. Something fundamentally new is needed, a fighter that can outpace its rivals. At this time, Polikarpov and his team are working to bring the I-185 fighter into production. The project is complex, requiring numerous refinements to meet military requirements. Yet the designer's thoughts are already moving further ahead. He envisions an aircraft combining high speed, agility, and powerful armament. Thus, the idea of the I-185 begins to take shape. There are no blueprints yet, only the first sketches, discussed privately with his close associate, Tetivkin. These talks are kept almost secret as the bureau is overloaded with current work and resources are scarce. Polikarpov knows that the key to a successful new fighter is a powerful engine. Over the course of a year, he corresponds with leading engine designers Arkady Shvetsov and Alexander Tumansky. They are working on new power plants, the M90 rated between 1,750 and 2,080 horsepower, the M71 producing 2,000 horsepower, and the more compact M81 at 1,600 horsepower. These engines are still in development, but Polikarpov sees in them the potential to create an aircraft capable of challenging the best enemy machines. He is already considering a high-altitude fighter, referred to internally as Project K or 61, an attempt to look into the future of aviation, where speed and operational ceiling will be decisive factors. Polikarpov has extensive experience creating cutting-edge machines. His career began back in the 1920s with the I-1, the first Soviet fighter. Then came the I-16, a symbol of Soviet aviation in the 1930s, and the lesser-known I-17, which remained experimental but demonstrated his innovative approach. He is often accused of clinging to biplanes, but this is unfair. The I-16 and I-17 were monoplanes, while biplanes like the I-153 were built at the insistence of the military, who valued their maneuverability. Polikarpov always looked forward, and the I-185 was meant to embody his vision. An aircraft that combined advanced technology, robust construction, and the ability to win in combat. Work on the I-185 begins when the Bureau is already operating at its limits. Plant No. 1 is the center of Soviet aircraft design, but its resources are divided among multiple projects. Every new aircraft demands engineering talent, materials, equipment, and testing facilities. Polikarpov and his team balance between ongoing commitments and the ambition to create something revolutionary. For now, the I-185 exists only in the designer's imagination, but it is already clear that this will be a game changer. Faster than the I-16, more agile than the I-153, and better armed than any Soviet fighter of the time. Polikarpov knows that war is approaching. Reports about German aircraft, especially the Bf-109, are already reaching the USSR. These machines are faster, better armed, and their rapid development forces Soviet designers to hurry. The I-185 must be the answer to these challenges. Ahead lie technical obstacles and organizational hurdles that could jeopardize the entire project. But for now, Polikarpov and his team are full of enthusiasm. They are ready to take the risk to create an aircraft that will make history. Autumn 1939, Nikolai Polikarpov travels to Germany as part of a Soviet delegation. The strategic mission, following the signing of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, gives Soviet designers a rare chance to see German aviation technology firsthand. Polikarpov studies the Messerschmitt Bf-109E closely. It has already proven itself in Spain and set the standard for European fighters. He also learns of a new aircraft in development, the Focke-Wulf FW-190, still on the drawing board but promising to become a formidable opponent. These machines impress with their speed, armament, and engineering sophistication. He realizes that Soviet aviation needs a fighter that can match, and if possible, surpass, these German designs. This visit crystallizes the requirements for the future I-185: maximum speed, high maneuverability, powerful armament, and the ability to operate effectively at high altitudes. But upon returning to Moscow, Polikarpov is hit with a shock. His once cutting-edge design bureau undergoes drastic changes. At Plant Number 1, a new bureau is formed, the Mikoyan-Gurevich Design Bureau. 80 of Polikarpov's top specialists, including experienced engineers and designers, are reassigned to the new organization. The promising high-altitude Project K is transferred to Mikoyan and will eventually emerge as the MiG-3. Rumors circulate about Polikarpov's loss of influence and the supposed irrelevance of his ideas. Official support clearly shifts toward Artem Mikoyan, promoted by Deputy People's Commissar for the Aviation Industry Alexander Yakovlev. Worse still, Polikarpov's bureau is relocated to Plant Number 51 in Stakhanov, a factory that exists only on paper. In reality, it is an empty site with no workshops, no equipment, and no established services. Polikarpov has to build everything from scratch: facilities, machine tools, and the infrastructure necessary for aircraft design. The team is reduced by half, resources are tight, but Polikarpov presses on. He understands that the I-185 could prove his bureau is still capable of producing cutting-edge fighters. In January 1940, work begins on the I-185, designated internally as Project 62. The goal is ambitious: to surpass the Bf-109E in speed, outmaneuver the I-16, and outgun any Soviet fighter in service. Polikarpov emphasizes manufacturability. The I-185 must combine combat effectiveness with suitability for mass production. The design is meticulously thought out: a strong airframe, optimized aerodynamics, and space for 3 Shvak cannons, providing devastating firepower. The team works at breakneck pace, completing the drawings in just a few months. Polikarpov personally oversees every stage, knowing that this aircraft will be his answer to the demands of the era. Work at Plant Number 51 takes place in extreme conditions. With no established production lines, the engineers improvise. Some parts are made by hand, test rigs are assembled from whatever materials are available. Despite the hardships, Polikarpov insists on the highest standards. He constantly reminds his team that the I-185 must be the best in its class. Analysis of German aircraft helps set priorities: a top speed near 600 km/h, high rate of climb, and the ability to fight at altitudes of 7-8 kilometers. Polikarpov senses that war is drawing near. Every delay could prove costly. By March 1940, the I-185 drawings are complete. The first step toward bringing Polikarpov's vision to life has been taken. Ahead lie the next challenges: selecting the right engine, building prototypes, and flight testing. Trials that will reveal whether the I-185 can live up to its promise. The team is optimistic, but the shadow of organizational obstacles is already hanging over the project. Polikarpov will have to fight not just technical problems, but a system working against him. In early 1940, the I-185 project moves from blueprints to reality. Nikolai Polikarpov's team completes the technical documentation in a record 3 months, from January to March. Every line of the drawings is calculated to give the aircraft high speed, agility, and the manufacturing efficiency needed for mass production. The I-185 is designed as a low-wing monoplane with a strong airframe and space for 3 20mm Shvak cannons. Such firepower is rare among fighters of the time, as most Soviet aircraft are armed only with machine guns. The key to the I-185's success lies in its engine. And here the first difficulties arise. Polikarpov pins his hopes on 3 new power plants: the M90, rated between 1,750 and 2,280 horsepower, the M71 at 2,000 horsepower, and the more compact M81 at 1,600 horsepower. Each promises to take the I-185 to a new level, but all are still unfinished. The M90, developed under Alexander Tumansky, proves unsuitable. Fit only for ground tests, its vibration and unreliability make it unsafe for flight. The M71 from Arkady Shvetsov's bureau looks more promising, but deliveries are delayed by production issues. The M81, though less powerful, appears to be a workable compromise. Yet it, too, requires further refinement. Polikarpov must balance the desire for an ideal engine with the need to keep the program moving. The first I-185 prototype fitted with the M81 begins testing in January 1941. The aircraft takes to the air, and the results are encouraging. It reaches a speed of 495 km/h, faster than the I-16, though still behind Germany's Bf-109E. Handling is excellent. The fighter is responsive, maneuverable, and holds tight in steep turns. Test pilots note that the I-185 performs complex maneuvers with ease, while its 3 cannons allow for precise, concentrated fire. The M81's drawback is vibration, which causes discomfort and threatens reliability. Polikarpov knows this engine can only be a temporary measure. He must wait for the M71, which promises much better performance. In April 1941, the I-185 is fitted with the M71. The engine is still not ready for series production, and deliveries are slow. The first flight with the M71 confirms the aircraft's potential, but also reveals new issues: an unreliable propeller governor and a carburetor that struggles with fuel delivery at altitude. These problems reduce performance, leaving top speed below expectations. Polikarpov and his team study the test data and make design adjustments, but the pressure of time is growing. War has begun, and every month of delay means the front continues to receive older aircraft inferior to the enemy's. In parallel, Polikarpov considers another Shvetsov engine, the M82. This air-cooled radial shows promise, but its production is slowed when the People's Commissariat for the Aviation Industry orders factories to prioritize liquid-cooled engines. This proves to be a strategic mistake. The M82 could have given the I-185 the needed power, but its series production will not start until May 1941. Polikarpov writes to high-ranking officials, urging them to speed up engine deliveries. He even suggests buying foreign power plants, such as the German BMW 801, which would have been a perfect fit for the I-185. But the Germans refuse to sell, and the project remains dependent on domestic engines. Work on the I-185 continues under constant shortages. Plant number 51, home to the Design Bureau, still lacks a full production facility. Much of the equipment is outdated, and material supplies are unreliable. The team improvises. Some parts are made by hand, and test rigs are built from whatever is available. Despite the difficulties, the I-185 shows real potential. Test pilots praise its exceptional handling and believe it could form the basis for a first-class production fighter. But without a reliable engine, all efforts risk coming to nothing. Polikarpov remains optimistic, knowing there is still much work ahead to raise the I-185 to a level that will surpass all rivals. The summer of 1941 brings serious challenges to the I-185 program. The war is in full swing, and Soviet aviation is suffering heavy losses. The front desperately needs modern fighters, yet the I-185 remains far from mass production due to ongoing power plant troubles. The M71, intended to be the fighter's heart, shows unstable carburetor and magneto performance. Deliveries are delayed, factories are overloaded with orders, and quality issues are severe. Polikarpov writes to Deputy People's Commissar for the Aviation Industry Alexander Yakovlev, detailing the M71's insufficient power and excessive weight, which critically reduced the aircraft's performance. The designer makes a bold proposal to purchase German BMW 801 engines, which would meet the I-185's requirements perfectly. But the outbreak of war with Germany makes such cooperation impossible. The M82 also attracts strong interest, but its mass production is delayed by policy decisions at the top. In 1940, Shvetsov's plant successfully completes M82 trials, but is soon ordered to focus on liquid-cooled engines. This shift in priorities pushes the M82's production back to May 1941, forcing Polikarpov to wait. The Design Bureau works at full stretch. Airframes are ready to fly, but without reliable engines, they remain grounded. Polikarpov feels time working relentlessly against the project, as frontline units need new machines immediately. In July 1941, the situation worsens dramatically. The Polikarpov Design Bureau is evacuated to Novosibirsk due to the rapid German advance. The new factory is housed in the local zoo and flying club. Working conditions are dire. There is no specialized equipment, materials are critically short, and the team labors in unheated hangars. Polikarpov and his engineers show remarkable resilience. They complete assembly of the I-185 with the M82A and prepare it for flight tests. In August-September 1941, the aircraft makes its first flights in the Novosibirsk sky. The results bring optimism. The M-82A delivers significantly more power than the M-81, though cooling systems and the propeller governor still need serious refinement. By early 1942, a long-awaited breakthrough comes. The I-185, with both the M-71 and M-82A, enter state trials. In February-March, test pilots Loganov and Stefanovsky put the aircraft through a full range of flight conditions. The results are impressive. With the M-71, the I-185 reaches 620 km/h. With the M-82A, it tops out at 680 km/h. These figures decisively outperform all Soviet fighters of the time, including the Yak-1 and Leg-3. Its rate of climb allows it to reach 5,000 meters in just 5 minutes, while the 3 Shvak cannons provide formidable firepower. Pilots praise its exceptional agility. The I-185 executes tight turns, rolls, and complex combat maneuvers with ease. Frontline pilots Chortov and Svetkov, who personally test the fighter, give it the highest marks, calling it ideal for air combat. The Air Force Research Institute, NII-VVS, responsible for the trials, publishes an official conclusion. The I-185 surpasses all Soviet and foreign fighters in speed, climb rate, and armament. The report explicitly recommends immediate mass production at Soviet aircraft plants. For Polikarpov, this is a moment of triumph. His team has overcome countless obstacles to create a fighter capable of changing the course of the air war. The I-185 can successfully take on the German Bf-109E and even the new FW-190, troubling reports of which are already coming in from the front. But the celebration is short-lived. Despite the Air Force's categorical recommendations, the People's Commissariat for the Aviation Industry delays a decision on mass production. Polikarpov is left uncertain about the real reasons for the holdup. He watches as his fighter, which has shown a clear advantage over its competitors, remains entangled in bureaucratic inaction. In Novosibirsk, the team continues refining the I-185, reducing its weight and optimizing its structure. Yet every month without a production order brings the project closer to a critical point. Polikarpov increasingly feels that the system is working against his creation, and that the problems now extend far beyond engineering. Greater obstacles lie ahead, threatening the very future of the program. By mid-1942, the I-185 has proven its superiority in trials, but the road to mass production remains arduous. Nikolai Polikarpov and his team know that for the fighter to reach the front, the People's Commissariat for the Aviation Industry, NKAP, must approve it. The I-185 outperforms all competitors in technical specifications. With the M-82A engine, it reaches 680 km/h, climbs to 5,000 meters in just 5 minutes, and mounts 3 Ashvaki cannons, firepower unmatched by other Soviet fighters. The Yak-1 tops out at 500 km/h. The Leg-3 struggles to reach 550 km/h, making the I-185 seem like a machine from the future. Even Germany's Bf-109E, dominant in the skies, falls behind in both speed and armament. Test pilots are unanimous. This aircraft could change the course of the air war. Polikarpov works tirelessly to persuade the NKAP to put the I-185 into production. Plant number 81 in Moscow prepares for manufacturing. Series drawings are completed, the structure is optimized, and weight is reduced to 3,420 to 3,450 kilograms, making the fighter even more effective. Polikarpov writes directly to Stalin, stressing the I-185's ability to counter the new German Bf-109G2 and FW-190 fighters, which are beginning to appear at the front. He warns that delays could cost the Soviet Air Force its competitive edge in combat. There is no reply, and the NKAP stalls. Meanwhile, competition within the Soviet aviation industry intensifies. 2 other design bureaus, those of Lavochkin and Yakovlev, are pushing their own fighters, the La-5 and the Yak-7. The La-5, developed from the Leg-3, uses the same M-82 engine as the I-185. Its performance is noticeably weaker, a top speed of 600 km/h and armament limited to 2 Shvaki cannons. The Yak-7, which Yakovlev is adapting to the M-82, also falls short of the I-185 in every key metric. The La-5 gains an advantage through production continuity with the Leg-3. Factories are already tooled for the earlier model, making the switch to the LA-5 far simpler than launching the entirely new I-185. The NKAP opts for speed of deployment over absolute performance. Yakovlev's role is pivotal. As Deputy People's Commissar for the aviation industry, he wields significant influence over resource allocation. He actively promotes both the LA-5 and his M82-powered Yak-7. Evidence suggests he is skeptical of the I-185, viewing it as too complex for rapid mass production. Polikarpov senses that his project is being deliberately sidelined. In NKAP circles, there is talk that the I-185 is too ambitious and that Polikarpov is losing his touch. Such rumors only add to the pressure on a designer already working under severe constraints. Undeterred, Polikarpov continues refining the I-185, hoping its clear advantages will force the NKAP to reconsider. The Novosibirsk-based team works on improving aerodynamics and reducing weight, incorporating feedback from pilots who say the fighter is ideal for dogfighting and can match German fighters at any altitude. Plant number 81 completes preparations for production, but the final decision lies with the NKAP. Polikarpov knows that every month of delay risks killing the program. Pilots are dying at the front who could be flying the I-185 and winning. The rivalry with the LA-5 and Yak-7 becomes a struggle for influence, far beyond a purely technical contest. Yakovlev, with direct access to the highest leadership, effectively lobbies for his own projects. Lavochkin, though less politically powerful, benefits from the ease of converting LA-GG3 production to the LA-5. Despite the I-185's success, Polikarpov is increasingly isolated. His letters to Stalin and the NKAP yield no results. He watches as a fighter that could be the best of the war remains grounded, a victim of bureaucratic resistance and bias. But the fight is not over. Decisive trials still lie ahead, trials that will determine the I-185's fate. By spring 1943, the I-185 program is nearing a critical juncture. The fighter has passed state trials, proven its superiority over both Soviet and foreign aircraft, yet mass production is still only a hope. Polikarpov pins his hopes on additional testing to finally convince the NKAP to give the go-ahead. In April, an I-185 fitted with the M71 engine is scheduled for a range test. Stepanchenko, one of the Air Force Research Institute's top test pilots, takes the controls. The flight ends in disaster. The engine fails, the aircraft becomes uncontrollable, and Stepanchenko is killed in the crash. Investigation reveals a technical fault with the M71, compounded by pilot error during emergency procedures. This accident proves fatal for the I-185 program. The NKAP seizes on it as justification to shut the project down for good. For Polikarpov, it is a crushing blow. His fighter, capable of altering the air war's balance, is discarded over a single crash, despite the fact that the M71's issues had been known for months. The I-185's downfall is rooted in systemic problems. Engine troubles dogged the project from the start. The M71 and M82A, despite their power, never reached consistent operational reliability due to production flaws and wartime shortages. Bureaucratic barriers were decisive. The NKAP favored the LA-5 for its production simplicity, despite inferior performance. Bias against Polikarpov, reinforced by Yakovlev's influence, further hindered the project. Rivalries between design bureaus over resources and political backing pushed the I-185 to the sidelines. A comparison with German industry underscores the lost opportunity. Germany, despite harsher wartime conditions, successfully brought new technologies into service, such as the BMW 801 engine for the FW-190. The Soviet industry, though capable, was hampered by the chaos of evacuation, material shortages, and poor coordination between factories and design bureaus. The I-185 became a casualty of these systemic flaws. Had the M71 or M82A been brought to production earlier? Or had the NKAP risked launching the I-185 into series production? The fighter might have become the backbone of the Soviet Air Force. Its capabilities could have matched the best foreign designs of the time. Despite the I-185's failure, Polikarpov's contributions to aviation remained significant. In 1943, he was awarded the Stalin Prize for earlier designs, notably the I-16 and I-153, which were still in combat service. The concepts built into the I-185 influenced later projects. The Il-5, which entered production, adopted certain Polikarpov solutions, especially the use of the M82 engine. The Yak-7 and even the later MiG-9 drew on lessons from the I-185 in aerodynamics and armament layout. For Polikarpov himself, it was cold comfort. His dream of building a fighter to surpass all rivals had been broken by wartime realities. In 1944, he died of a serious illness, never seeing the I-185 take to the skies in numbers. His design bureau was dissolved, and its last projects, including the heavy VP fighter, never left the drawing board. Polikarpov's influence lived on through later generations. His ideas and design philosophy found new life in the Sukhoi Design Bureau, which would go on to produce some of the most iconic fighters of the next century. The I-185 remains a symbol of unrealized potential, an aircraft that might have changed history but instead became a victim of circumstance. Its story is a reminder that talent and persistence sometimes fall before systemic barriers. The I-185 was a chance for Soviet aviation to field a fighter capable of turning the tide of the war. Technical issues, bureaucracy, and political rivalry left it in history as a project that might have been. Whether it could truly have changed the outcome remains an open question for aviation historians.